or the Ananda Gandha, the space between your heart center and the navel center. Remember the form of Swamiji, that form of Swamiji which is most dear to you. Remember that form in your third eye and the Ananda Gandha. Get into the space of deep gratitude and oneness with Swamiji. Let us invoke Swamiji with the chanting of the Sadguru Vandanam. Om Nityanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum tam namami. Nityanandam. And all of you can switch to the view of Adi Kailash instead of Sri Nitya Ambananda Swami, and this will be streamed. There is okay. Mapuri Ananda, I have informed the technical team there is an echo in the sound. Yes, I am leaving this Zoom room from the ID Sri Nitya Ambananda Swami. I will be streamed through Adi Kailash ID. Please switch to Adi Kailash view. Thank you, Nityanandam. So welcome everyone. I welcome all the devotees of His Divine Holiness, disciples of His Divine Holiness Swamiji, all the participants of this session, with my offering of gratitude to all of you and the offering of Sashtanga Dandavat Pranams at the feet of His Divine Holiness Guru Mahasannidhanam Bhagavan Shri Nityananda Paramashivam, our most beloved Guru Swamiji. With the grace and the blessings of Swamiji, we have started today this session's classes on Sanskrit, Agamas, Pramana and Yoga. When I say Yoga, all the content that is on yoga, that is related to Sanskrit and the pramanas and the meanings of it. So starting from today, what we will be doing this from today, the next 21 days, we will be covering up the whole of the content that is usually covered in any Nityananda Yoga Teachers Training. In every Nityananda Yoga Teachers Training, which is a 21-day paid program, we always have either 1.5 hour session or 2 hour session every day on Sanskrit and Agamas and chantings, Pramanas, all this. In the next 21 days, we will be exactly covering those sessions. All that we would teach Nityananda Yoga teacher trainee, this will be taught in the sessions starting from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Indian Standard Time from today onwards. So I know there are some participants of the Zoom session who have logged in, but who have not yet got trained themselves to be a Nityananda Yoga teacher. Means they have not attended in Nityananda Yoga teachers training. There are some participants who have attended the Nityananda Yoga teachers training. Both of you can very well attend these sessions for next 21 days continuously. After the 21 days are over, we will be switching to furthermore topics on various aspects of Sanskrit and Agama Until this 21 days, we will be specially training only on the training content that is given for Nityananda Yoga Teachers Training. So, the first thing that we always teach Nityananda Yoga Teachers Trainee is the introduction to the grand introduction, but a short introduction to about His Divine Holiness Swamiji himself. So, this is the introduction to Swamiji, what you will give. First of all, let each and every one of us listen to the introduction, grand introduction about His Divine Holiness Swamiji. His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Sri Nityananda Paramashivam is the reviver of Kailasa, the enlightened civilization, the greatest and only Hindu nation. He is revered, regarded and worshipped as the living avatar, an incarnation of superconsciousness by millions. His Divine Holiness manifests all the best contributions Hinduism offers to the world, like science of power manifestation, yoga, temple-based lifestyle, while being subjected to all the worst persecution Hinduism faces by the atheist and casteist terrorists because of his scientific, progressive, pragmatic, human rights conscious approach towards life and gender equality stand. His Divine Holiness is the 293rd Guru Mahasannidhanam, that is Pontiff, of the oldest Shaivite Adhinam, the Temple Monastery Complex, the Temple Monastery Institution, the Madurai Adhinam. He is the founder of the largest Shaiva Adhinam, the Bengaluru Adhinam, the Nityananda Peetham. He is the Acharya Mahamandaleshwar, the spiritual head of the Atal Akhada and the Mahanirvani Peetha. His Divine Holiness is the founder and spiritual head of the Nityananda Hindu University, world's largest Hindu university. So, that was a short intro about Swamiji. We all know we all have had the direct experience of the energy, consciousness, power of initiation, and all the best things that Swamiji has been providing for all of us. Swamiji always teaches, always reveals to the world what the Sanatana Hindu Dharma has already been revealing and telling to the humanity since time immemorial. The first thing that Swamiji always asks us to start with is God. That is, I'm using the word God because in English or in common terminology we use this, so I'm using the same word. Paramashiva, God, in the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, is beyond the form and beyond even the formless. It is not just that Paramashiva is beyond the form, he is even beyond the formless. This is the first truth that every Hindu should know. Not just the Nityananda Yoga Teacher Trainee, not just the participants of the Zoom session, not just Swamiji's disciples and devotees. Every being in the whole world should know this, because knowing this truth is knowing about the truth, knowing the truth of the ultimate supreme cosmos itself. Swamiji has personally told me that this is the way Hinduism, or you need to even introduce things. They have to be, any participant should be introduced. He literally used these words. God in Hinduism is beyond the form and beyond even the formless. He assumes the form just for the sake of the devotion of the devotee. He uses Paramashiva, assumes the form just for the sake of the devotion of the devotee, because the devotee wishes to see him in a form that he can connect with. Paramashiva assumes the form. Paramashiva in his formless state always exists. Even when he assumes a form, he exists in the formless state and even beyond the formless state also. The revelations that Paramashiva has revealed, the cosmic truths, the sacred cosmic truths that Paramashiva has revealed, being in his formless state, is what we call as Vedas. So now we told who is Paramashiva in the Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Second, we told sorry. So next, what are Vedas? Vedas are the core, one of the core scriptures of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, wherein Paramashiva in his formless state reveals all the sacred truths about the self, Jiva, Jagat, the cosmos, and Ishvara, about him own self. The sacred secrets about the Jagat, Jiva, and Ishvara are revealed by Paramashiva in the Vedas. The Vedas were, because Paramashiva did not use a form to reveal, but reveal these Vedas in his formless state, in the form of eternal vibration in the space. Anytime a rishi, anytime an enlightened sage, a seer, gets into the space of samadhi, they saw these cosmic truths, these sacred truths about the cosmos, that is the Vedas. Going forward, I'll use the word directly Vedas. They saw the Vedas in the Akashic records and revealed it to the humanity. Because they saw these truths and revealed it to the whole humanity, these seers are called rishis. That is why we call them seers. They see the mantras, and that is why we call them, and that is why we call them seer. In Sanskrit, a rishi, the definition of a rishi is the one who can see the mantras, not the one who can hear the mantras or chant the mantras, the one who can see the mantras and reveal it. Mantra drashta rishi. Mantra drashtaraha rishayaha is the definition in Sanskrit. I will be using throughout these sessions from starting today, slowly, little by little, the Sanskrit terminologies as well, so that we all get used to it. For example, when we start learning science, we may be learning it through our mother tongue. It can be Spanish or Hindi or Tamil or English or Chinese. The moment you start learning biology, you are automatically introduced to Latin terminology. Slowly you start learning bit by bit the terminologies, the jargons in Latin itself. For example, we start using the word Homo sapiens for human beings. For mango, we start saying Mangifera indica. Like that, we start saying, using scientific names. And for example, if somebody is in the legal field, they'll start using the Latin terminologies like suo motu and de facto, all these terminologies, even if you are practicing in your own language, you will start learning, you will start using these technical terms from Latin itself, using Latin itself, and continue to use it. And that is the way you will start having a hold over the field of the knowledge which you want to learn. And hence, starting from today, because I'll be continuously using the words, Sanskrit words as well. I'll introduce the word and for a few times give the meaning of it in English, and then start using the words in Sanskrit itself. I do recommend all the participants, especially all the Nityananda Yoga teachers, to make notes with your either your computers or laptop or with your handwritten copy. Please do make notes of these same, so that it doesn't go just in the air, and you get to learn. And because all these words are something new that you learn, you need to put it down in writing, so that again and again you can see. And the more you start using these terminologies, terms in your day-to-day activities, or in your sessions, or while you make a video on the Facebook or YouTube, or when you make a Facebook post, when you start using these terms along with the meaning of it, you will start remembering the definitions of these completely, and you will also know the meanings and know these terms, and it will become a part of you. So in a way, along with learning Sanskrit in a procedural way as a language itself, just by learning various aspects, various branches of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, we get to learn the Bhasha, Samskrita Bhasha, the Sanskrit language itself. If you take notes and see, if you keep a log of all these words you learn and all the technical terms that are being described in these sessions, on all these sessions, and keep a log of them, after 21 days you will see you will have learnt so many words of Sanskrit. So I do recommend everyone to use make note of all this. So coming back, Vedas are the revelations done by Paramashiva in his formless state. These revelations were done as the form of a eternal vibration, and later at because the vibrations are eternally in the space, any time later in the period of time, the course of time, anybody who wants to see these mantras, all that you need to do is you need to get into the state of samadhi, and you will be able to see the mantras. Such great beings who were able to do were called rishis. So the definition of a rishi as per the Sanatana Hindu Dharma is mantra drashta. Drashta means the person who sees. The one who sees is called drashta. Mantra means, we all know as of now basically what a mantra can mean. Mantra drashta is called a rishi. Because Paramashiva is eternal, and his formless state also does not have a beginning nor an end. The knowledge that he revealed, the sacred truths that he revealed, or that, in other words, the Vedas that he revealed, are also eternal. The Vedas of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma are eternal because Paramashiva is eternal, and all this knowledge of the Vedas are directly from Paramashiva himself, from his consciousness. Because his consciousness is eternal, the knowledge is also eternal. And because this does not have a beginning, means in the language of in the time shaft, it does not have a beginning when it originated, and because Paramashiva does not cease to exist at any point of time, so we say Vedas do not have a beginning or an end. Many places we say Many times we say Vedas do not have a beginning or an end. We mean Vedas do not have a beginning with respect to time, Vedas do not have an end with respect to time, and hence it is eternal. What are the Vedas? The Vedas are classified into four. One is Rigveda, the second one is Yajurveda, the third one is Samaveda, and the fourth one is Atharva Veda, or also called as Atharvana Veda. I repeat couple of more times. The four Vedas are Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and the Atharva Veda or Atharvana Veda. Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda. So Rig, Yaju, Sama, Atharva are the four Vedas. The root of the verbal root of the word Veda literally means to know. The word Veda comes from the verbal root in Sanskrit with or with. I am not telling you WITH with in English or WIDTH in English with. It is, I am telling it in Sanskrit with to know. So Vedas means, literally means knowledge. Next, we'll get into the furthermore classifications of what every day in the session we'll be having, covering up a few parts. Like every day we'll be covering up parts of the Pramana chanting, and they will be allocating time for learning few alphabets and words of Sanskrit, how to write them in Devanagari, how to pronounce them, how to understand the deeper meanings of it, and what are all the various aspects of Sanatana Hindu Dharma. All these things we will be learning every day. The class will be scheduled in such a way that every day you get to have this, all these things little by little every day, and the next day you will be having the next part of each aspect that we taught in the previous session. And from tomorrow we will be logging on to the Nityananda TV directly, and we will be sharing the link of for the session through Nityananda TV, wherein you will have to fill up a form, like how you will fill up for a webinar. You will fill up a form and then you will be able to log in. And those of you who want to have a course content as well, we'll be making a course module in the Nityananda Hindu University website, where you will have the learning content, as well as you can take test assessments and undergo this as a course, and this will be like a lecture course for you, lecture session for you, and you can use this, and where you get certified directly from Nityananda Hindu University as well. So this is about Vedas. What are all the parts of Vedas? What are all the part of each Veda? That we'll see in the next sessions. Next is, apart from the Vedas, Paramashiva in his when he assumed a form, what he revealed, the sacred sciences, the sacred truths about the cosmos, which he revealed, are called the Agamas. Agama, the word, literally means Agatam Shivavaktrebhyaha Gatancha Girijamukhe Matancha Vasudevasya Tasmad Agama Ityuchyate. The meaning of this verse is, because it came from Paramashiva, from the mouth of Paramashiva, and because Devi heard it, it was revealed to Devi Parashakti, and Devi, after listening to it, she transmitted to the next generation, and it came out of the mouth of Devi also, and to the whole of the humanity. It goes through the Guru Parampara and comes until us through Swamiji in the Guru Parampara. And because Mahavishnu, the god of sustenance in the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, adopted this as a manual, this as the lifestyle, this as the dharma to run the whole cosmos, this is called Agama. The word A signifies that it came from Paramashiva, means for coming we say Agatam, that which has come is called Agatam in Sanskrit. So from that Gatam means it went into the mouth of, through the mouth of Devi Parashakti. So from that Gatam, Ga, so then Ga, then Vishnu, Vasudeva accepted it completely as a manual to run the whole cosmos. So Mata, the word from the word Mata, the word Ma. So Agama is the meaning, is the word that gets formed because of the reasons why it, how it happened and why it is existing, how it is being used. All the Agamas were revealed by Paramashiva when he assumed a form, when he, in his form, I should say, in his state of form, when he assumed a form, and when he is through the form, he revealed it. He revealed to Devi Parashakti. Who is Devi Parashakti? Same Paramashiva assumed another form in the form of Devi Parashakti, and literally he revealed the Agamas to him own self. Why do we say him own self? Because the other person, the so-called other person who is sitting to him, to whom he revealed, the other person, so Devi, is also he, Paramashiva himself. So the knowledge was not told to somebody, it was told to him own self. Why do we say this? Let's understand one important aspect, especially about Hinduism. All the religions across the globe always teaches that God created, or the whatever the term you use for God in the tradition, that God or so whatever, whoever created the whole universe, created the whole world, created the heavens, created the whole world, everything through the power of words, through the power of will, etc. For anything to be created, please everyone carefully listen, for anything to be created, there are two things explained in the Upanishads. Upanishads are the part of the conclusive part of Vedas. There are two things required for the formation, for the creation of anything. One is the material cause of that which is getting created. Another one is the instrumental cause of that which is getting created. For example, a pot is made, a clay pot is made. For the clay pot to be made, the cause of the pot are two. One is the material cause of the pot is clay. Another one, the instrumental cause of the pot, who is the potter, who created it. The whole world, according to Sanatana Hindu Dharma, according to the Vedas and the Agamas, was created by Paramashiva, and the instrumental cause, which is the Nimitta Karana. Nimitta Karana means is the terminology used in the Upanishads. The Nimitta Karana, that is the instrumental cause for the whole Jagat, the world, as well as the material cause, which we call it as Upadana Karana, the material cause for the whole world, both are Paramashiva himself. The pramana for this is Upanishads, where the declaration of the Parabrahman, the pure, the cosmic consciousness, to manifest as many, to multiply and manifest as many, just to enjoy its own self. The pramana is Yekoham Bahusyam. Yekoham, Yekaha, Aham, Bahu, Syam. I am one, let me become many, is the one will that happened in the will of Paramashiva, who is the super consciousness, the cosmic consciousness, and he manifested himself in the form of the whole world, whether it is in the form of the mic, whether it is the form of this hand, or the form of this Rudraksha, or in the form of this body, in the form of this being who's telling, or in the form of that being, all these beings who are listening, the form of this seat, the form, everything that Paramashiva himself manifested. This is one of the basic, very, very, very important truths revealed in the Vedas, revealed in the Upanishads, which are the part of Vedas. So, excuse me. So, because Paramashiva himself manifested and became all these forms, and he only became Devi also. So, he literally transmitted the sciences, the agamic sciences, the sacred truths to Devi Parashakti. I will start using the word Devi Parashakti because the form is different. The being who told and the being who received were one, but the form used by Paramashiva was Paramashiva's form, masculine form, the Devi's form, feminine form. Okay, so all these agamas are technically called, all the agamas are technically called as tantras. Paramashiva in the Kamika Agama explains the meaning of the word tantra. Tanoti vipulan arthan tattva mantra samashritan. Because all the knowledge that is revealed in the agamas, all the scriptures which are called agamas, gives you manifold benefit in your life, gives all the benefits that you want in your life. How do they give? By making you know all the knowledge about all the tattvas. What does tattva mean? Tattva means the basic unit of existence. The Vayu Tattva means the basic unit of existence of Vayu, the basic unit of existence of air. There are various, like air is there, light is there, fire is there, man is there, Shakti is there, Shiva is there. For everything there is a basic unit of existence. When you know the basic unit of existence, you know the whole science, the whole net, whole grid, or how I should say whole spin. If it is a cloth, the threads, the threads are weaved this way and this way, intersecting. If you know how these tattvas intersect and manifest as many, and how they become objects and how they become life, you will be able to manifest everything, because it gives tanoti vipulan arthan, it gives all these benefits. Tattva mantra samashritan, it gives all which is infused with the mantras which reveal the tattvas, hence they are called tantras. So whenever you hear a word tantra, please understand all the tantras are agamas. All the agamas are technically called as tantras, inclusive of Kamika Agama. They are all technically called tantras. So Paramashiva revealed all these sciences. What is the difference? Now Paramashiva revealed these in the agamas, many sacred truths. What is the difference between the knowledge that Paramashiva revealed in the Vedas, and what is the difference between the knowledge that Paramashiva revealed in the agamas? In the Vedas, Paramashiva reveals the pure science. There he just tells, you are that, Tattvamasi, thou are that, you are that pure consciousness, you are that Paramashiva himself, and he just leaves with that. In Vedas, if you see, he just gives the pure science. In the agamas, how using that pure science you can manifest all the powers, you can manifest the space of Paramashiva, and manifest all the desires that you have, that you want, and how the whole cosmos functions, why even if you are Paramashiva, why you feel yourself deluded, all these applied truths, applied sciences based on the pure truths and pure science that Paramashiva revealed in the Vedas have been revealed by Paramashiva in the Agamas. So Vedas are the pure science, Agamas are the applied science. Together the Vedas and the Agamas are called Shastra. Shasanat trayate iti Shastram, means by governing the law of governing the whole cosmos, governing the whole flow of life, governing life itself, it saves you, it protects you, and hence it is called Shastra. Vedas and Agamas are called Shastras. Please understand this now very clearly, because now I am not only telling what a Shastra is. When we go to what a Pramana is, there I will be explaining Shastra Pramana. Then I will be reminding in that session, the first session, we revealed about what a Shastra is and what Vedas are, what Agamas are. If you do not know, then you have to go back to that video. All these videos will be, all these sessions are getting recorded and will be uploaded in the YouTube as well for the posterity for everyone to learn. And when you want to again brush up the sessions, you don't understand, you can go back and learn. So we now covered what is God as per Sanatana Hindu Dharma. What is the quality, means quality in the sense whether does he have a form or not form, because it is a key thing, that key aspect which is discussed in all religions. So what is the stand of Sanatana Hindu Dharma with respect to God, that is Paramashiva. Let us start using, going forward I will start using only the word Paramashiva. When I use the word Paramashiva, we will start using the word Paramashiva just to denote the ultimate superconscious energy, the cosmic energy. So in these sessions going forward, whenever I want to represent that Paramashiva in his physical form, in the masculine form, having jatas, having vibhuti, and with the 3 eyes, 4 hands or 25 hands, etc. I will be using the word Sadashiva or Mahasadashiva for better understanding and the differentiation of understandings. So please understand this. So Paramashiva, who is Paramashiva? What is the stand of the form or formlessness as per the Sanatana Hindu Dharma about Paramashiva? Then in the formless state, what he revealed, Vedas, what does it mean? What are all their the classification of Vedas are the 4 different Vedas. Next, in the assume the form, what Paramashiva revealed is called Agama. What is the meaning of the word of Agama, and whom he revealed it to, and why it is called Agama? And when he revealed it to somebody else, is there somebody else? We told that Paramashiva himself manifested in the form, in all the forms, and Devi also is the form of Paramashiva himself. Paramashiva, the cosmic energy, the cosmic pure consciousness. Then what is the thing, what are all the topics that are covered in the Agamas and the Vedas, what are the differences between them, and why technically all the Agamas are called Tantras, and Tantra is equal to Agama, Agama is equal to Tantra. So till this we have seen. Now before entering into the topic of Sanskrit, I will go to another topic, like continuation with respect to Agama, about Paramashiva. One of the important truths that Swamiji has been continuously revealing about the Agamas and Paramashiva, that Paramashiva does 5 actions. Unlike other religions where the God according to them does only 3 actions: creation, destruction and sustenance. Here in the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, Paramashiva is described to do 5 actions: generation, that is creation; operation, that is sustenance; destruction and putting in delusion; and liberation. 5 things that Paramashiva does. They are technically called as Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, Tirobhava and Anugraha. So if you are serious about learning all these things, please do make note of the words directly in Sanskrit, because all these words were personally used by Paramashiva. Let us use more and more start using the words that Paramashiva himself started using. So Srishti, which is creation, Sthiti, which is sustenance or operation, Samhara, which is destruction. It is a very vague and rough meaning, destruction, for the word Samhara. Then Tirobhava. Tirobhava means putting in delusion, and Anugraha meaning liberating. Srishti means creating, we all know. Sthiti means maintaining the status quo, not too much of change. The whole world exists and it is sustaining. All of us live. We undergo change. Our body undergoes changes. The whole world undergoes changes, but it does not get collapsed. It is still there. So it is Sthiti. Samhara. What is the meaning of Samhara? Samharati. Sam plus hara. Hru. The verbal root is hru. Sam plus hara. Hru dhatu is samhara. Samhara. Hru means hara, where from the verbal root hru, the derivative hara comes in the out of the word samhara. That samhara literally means taking back to its source. For example, if I should say, for all of us to understand, there is a chemical compound. For all of us to understand, I am using these things which we already know. There is a chemical compound which is having a huge long chemical chain, long molecular chain. And that object is in the form of a solid object which can be decomposed. I am talking about not something like plastic, something that can get decomposed, like food, any plant. When it gets decomposed, the molecular structure gets broken down, furthermore smaller, and gets into final. If we break down, go back, it goes into its elemental, or it is its basic molecular form. There are some atoms which can exist in its atomic form state itself. Some elements which have to retain, which have to be there, like oxygen will always be as a O2, oxygen, two atoms of oxygen put together as a molecule. That is the elemental structure state. They go back. When we say they get destroyed, they don't get destroyed and vanished. They get into its source back, molecular structure. So samhara literally means taking back to its source, getting pulled back into the source. When we say Subramanya, the deity Subramanya, God Subramanya did samhara of Shura Padma, Shura Samhara, we say a demon. He did not just kill him or anything and destroy him. He took him back into his own self. That is what we call samhara. So when Paramashiva does the action of destruction, when we say samhara, he makes things go back to its elemental or basic form, taking back to the source. Next is Tirobhava. Tirobhava literally means like the space wherein you are covered up. The space wherein you are covered up with a screen in front of you throughout, because of which you don't see furthermore reality. It is a state. It is a space that Paramashiva creates. Why he creates will be understood when we get to know about the next action of Paramashiva. The fifth action of Paramashiva is Anugraha. Anugraha means dissolving back into the same source back. Graha means pulling back. Grahanam means attracting back. Anugraha means attracting back to the source and merging back into the source. So we call it liberation for us to understand easily. Swamiji always says the language Sanskrit is not just a language that as we think. It cannot be translated. It can only be mapped. The meanings of the words in Sanskrit can only be mapped to any other language, whether it is English or Hindi or whatever, Chinese or Spanish, Portuguese, can only be mapped. Why do we say map? Because if I have to show you the map of Bangalore city, I show you the city of Bangalore map and say this is Kabban Park, this is Corporation Circle, this is Bangalore Airport. I do show only in a paper, the representations of those places. I do not show the place as such. They denote that actual place, and hence the translations, what we colloquially call as translations, that we tell in English or in either language, are only the mapping, the nearest possible mapping that we can do in English. So that is why we say use the word generation as well as creation, sustenance as well as operation, both the words, for us to understand. So Paramashiva does these 5 actions: Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, Tirobhava and Anugraha. For creation, Paramashiva does not assume a form. We already told Paramashiva assumes a form for the sake of the devotion of the devotee. For the sake of creation, Paramashiva does not assume a form, does not need any form. For sustaining the whole cosmos, as such, Paramashiva does not need any form. For destroying, for pulling back, for doing the samhara, Paramashiva does not need a form. For putting the beings into the delusion or making them undergo the Maya or experience the Leela of Maya that he has created, Paramashiva does not assume a form, nor he needs a form. But for doing the action of Anugraha, Paramashiva does assume a form and does need a form. Why? The action of Anugraha happens only when the beings, when a soul, when I say soul, I mean a being, a person, a life. When a being yearns to get out of the Tirobhava. To put it in, to remove all the confusions that we may go through, Paramashiva assumed the form of Jiva, assumed the form of a human being. For example, I am telling, assume the form of some human being, and as a Leela, as a play, he played the action of Tirobhava, putting himself in delusion, and he started playing as if he is deluded. And now Paramashiva, when he wants to come out of that state of Tirobhava, the deluded state, the so-called deluded state, he just wills and wants, creates a strong will to come out of that state of Tirobhava, the space of Tirobhava. When he does that, the Paramashiva, who is in the form of a human being, I am not saying in the form of an avatar, any human being, any life is Paramashiva himself, so I am using that. So when the yearning happens, Paramashiva, because Paramashiva is beyond everything, formed and formless, even when he assumes a form as a human being, as a form of a living being, he remains in his untouched space also. So Paramashiva, in his unclutched space, in his formless space, from his formless space, he assumes another form, in the form of the Guru, in the form of an incarnation, in the form of the avatar, to come and reveal it and remove the Tirobhava of the Paramashiva who is already deluded or in other words, to liberate the living being, to liberate a being. So Paramashiva assumes the form of a guru when for a being, for the devotee who yearns for enlightenment or liberation, or to come out of the Maya, to come out from the delusion. When collectively so many beings yearn, when there is a shift in the total space of the whole cosmos, wherein so many beings, millions of beings, not only, I am not saying millions of beings, just human beings, millions of beings, divine beings, so many beings who do not have this, who do not live in this physical plane, Bhuloka also, when all of them pray for, yearn for, aspire for liberation, the anugraha to happen, Paramashiva hears compassionately all these prayers and assumes the form of an avatar. An avatar is the form of Paramashiva in his purest form in a human body. For in the case of the in the case of all the other beings, they all went into the state of Tirobhava, and they, after that, they get enlightened. For in the case of an avatar, he does not get into the delusion, he lands into that form, he assumes that form in his liberated state itself, without getting into the Maya itself, untouched by Maya. And because of that, he is able to, he manifests, he creates, initiates millions of beings into all the powers of Paramashiva. Because Paramashiva physically assumed a form for the sake of the devotion of all of us, for all the sake of the, for the sake of the devotion of all the seekers, the form of Paramashiva in the form of the Guru is the highest in the Sanatana Hindu Dharma. So Paramashiva, when he is in the form of formless state, Paramashiva in the form as having the Jatas, 3 eyes, and in his divine form, in his divine body, having in the Kailasa, with his divine body having 25 hands and 50 hands and 25 heads, in the form of Mahasadashiva, and Sadashiva 5 heads and 10 hands. That is one state. Paramashiva in the form of 2 hands, living in the form of the avatar, in the form of a guru, initiating us. In all these 3, Paramashiva in the form of the guru is considered highest, because there Paramashiva has come down just for us. That is why we always give the highest state, highest position in the Sanatana Hindu Dharma for the Guru. In all the 7 chakras, each deity, Devata, is considered as the Adhidevata, or the deity of one chakra. Paramashiva is the Sadashiva is the deity of the Ajna chakra, the 3rd eye, the brow center energy. But the position of Guru is considered one step higher in the Sahasrara, in the crown center. Paramashiva in the form of the Guru is the highest, and hence we celebrate the form of the Guru, and hence the whole of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma is basically a Guru Shishya Sampradaya, or a Guru disciple lineage. When Paramashiva revealed the Agamas, even at that time, it was because of the seeking of the humanity collectively. Paramashiva assumed a form and revealed the sciences, sacred sciences, Agamas, how to live, how to live your whole life, what is the lifestyle that you need to live, so that you live as Paramashiva, realize your Paramashiva, and manifest all the powers of Paramashiva while being in the body itself. All these things Paramashiva explained in the Agamas, that he assumes the form because of the devotion of the seeker. He did it earlier, he is doing till now also in the form of Bhagavan Sri Nityananda Paramashivam. Okay, that form of Paramashiva, Mahasadashiva, Sadashiva, through which he revealed the Agamas, all the truths that he revealed are truths, but all those truths become a personal reality for us only through the form of our Guru, and because of that he is considered, the Guru is considered the embodiments of all the gods and goddesses as the highest. So now, having said that, why Guru, connection between Shiva, Paramashiva, Sadashiva, when I say Paramashiva in his form, in this colloquially I am using this, these are all not technical terms, just only Paramashiva means the ultimate reality, cosmos himself. He is the one who is in the form of formless, he is in the one who is in the form of 5 heads, 5 faces, he is the one who is in the form with 25 faces, all these the same one, but I am using it for the formless energy. Paramashiva, the connection between Paramashiva, Sadashiva or Mahasadashiva, and the form of the avatar Bhagavan Sri Nityananda Paramashivam. Why we always keep Swamiji here? So, because Paramashiva taught and revealed this to Devi, Paramashiva became the first Guru, Adi Guru, because Devi received it and transmitted it to, gave it to Subramanya, the son of Paramashiva. Devi became another Guru, the Guru in the lineage of Guru, and Subramanya received it and transmitted this Agama to Nandideva, the divine vehicle of Paramashiva, and Nandi received it and gave it to the Sanaka Rishi, the 7 sages, the 4 sages, and these Saptarishis, 7 sages, who transmitted it to the further Rishis, sages, and finally passed it over to the humanity. So, the whole of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, starting with Paramashiva, Parashakti, the whole of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma is a Guru Shishya Sampradaya, Guru disciple relationship, and we always worship Paramashiva, give or offer our respects to Paramashiva in the form of Guru, and we offer our respects to our Guru in the form of Paramashiva. So, having said this, I created now by telling all this, why Guru, why he assumes. When you understand this context, you will lose, your whole being will melt in gratitude. Yes, and you will understand that all the seeking that you did for Mary, so many births, janmas, have got fructified now, and you will wake up to the reality. Yes, now that Paramashiva himself has assumed the form, let me experience the ultimate reality through him in this birth itself. So I told this. Next, the topic of, so I spoke about Paramashiva Guru. Paramashiva, what he told in the revelations by Paramashiva, what are all they, and then connection between how Guru is the embodiment of, the avatar is the embodiment of Paramashiva himself, and now Paramashiva in his cosmic form, in the form of Nataraja, in his Ananda Tandava. Tandava means the dance. Ananda means bliss. When he was filled with, when he assumed a form, and when he was filled with extreme ecstasy, because he assumed the form just to celebrate him own self. Not for, he does not become blissful out of any other reason. Because he is, for the reason who he is, he just became ecstatic, and in that ecstatic state, Paramashiva performed the cosmic dance, the Ananda Tandava, in the form of Nataraja. During that time, Paramashiva played his Damaru, the musical drum. Damaru is a musical drum which is slightly conic. It is as if the smaller base of the 2 fructums of a cone. I'm sorry for using this little mathematical or scientific thing. How it will look like, so I am telling. If you take 2 fructums of a cone and the smaller circle of the fructum of the cone, smaller base of the fructum of the cone joined together, and in the bigger base of the fructums of the cone, if you tie it with the membrane of the skin of a bull or a buffalo, then it is called damaru. So while he played and there will be two threads. At the tip of the threads you will have small ball kind of a thing which will flip and knock the two membranes, two sides, to create sound. When Paramashiva did the cosmic dance, when he did it, first the bhasha, the language, the sounds that got created, the sound that got created from his divine musical drum Damaru are two. One is the Sanskrit, another one is the language of Tamil, which is which is in English we call as Tamil. When Paramashiva played his musical drum, he hit the side on which is facing him, and it created the language, the sound from that created the language Tamil, and the other side, the other thread and the other ball went and hit on the other side which was away from him. His side created the sounds from which the language of Sanskrit got created. Because one was the language which got created, the Tamil which got created was near his side, and the Sanskrit which was onto the outside side, away from him, his Damaru, the opposite side. For the world, for all of us who were for the world, Sanskrit came first and Tamil came next. These truths Paramashiva Swamiji himself has revealed in the satsangs, how the languages got, these two languages got created. Okay, now what is the language the Paramashiva used in the Vedas and the Agamas? All the Vedas and Agamas were revealed in the bhasha, in the language called Sanskrit. Going forward, I will be using the word language. After a few sessions, I will start using the word, instead of language, I will start using the word bhasha, because Swamiji says Sanskrit is not just a language, it is a bhasha, meaning it is not used just to communicate a verbal meaning to somebody, but is used to transmit energy itself. The sounds of this language is used to transmit energy, and that energy can change things, manipulate matter, change things, and alter anything that you want. That is why mantras are powerful. We always experience mantras are powerful. They do heal us, they do heal our body, they change things outside. When you chant some mantras, situations outside changes. All this is because of the power of the words of and the sounds of Sanskrit. The power came for this language because it came from Sadashiva's drum, Sadashiva's Damaru. So this is called bhasha, and the actual word of and the actual name of the language of Sanskrit, in the language of Sanskrit, is called Samskritam. Like how we say Spanish, but in Spanish they call it Espanol, like that. In Sanskrit, that language is called Samskritam. The word Samskritam literally means Samyak Kritam, that which is perfectly done, that which is perfectly created. It is this bhasha, the base. Paramashiva created this bhasha through his musical drum, because it came from Paramashiva. The perfection of the language is extremely beautiful, that even the contemporary current times, scientists across globe various researchers, various software programmers are wowed and wondered, or like surprised, mind boggled about the by knowing the structure of this whole language itself. Personally, I want to introduce myself. My name is Srinitya Ambananda Swami, as you all may be aware. So I have finished my masters in Oriental Sanskrit grammar. Before that, I was studying engineering, electronics and instrumentation engineering. I discontinued my engineering and then switched over to Sanskrit. When I switched over to learning Sanskrit, really, I'm telling you, what the first year when I joined my bachelor's, what I was left with was like such a deep ecstasy to realize how scientific this language is structured. Because I had learnt programming, computer programming, software programming while I was studying in my school as well as in my engineering college, I knew the basic structures of a computer program. When I saw the structure of this whole Sanskrit grammar, it was so wonderful, and I was so surprised how in a software program you put everything into a proper structure and you use minimal code to generate maximum effect, maximum output, or maximum the best utilizable software that can be created, like that, with minimal alphabets, with minimal words, letters. How the Sanskrit grammar is structured and how the rules are laid down, how it is perfectly in alignment with the current day modern science. Probably the science of the Sanskrit language, Samskrita Bhasha, which was all across the globe thousands of years ago, which was spread throughout the planet Earth, should have got settled in various civilizations, and later some scientists who came from that civilizations would have decoded, that DNA from them got awakened, and they created all this science and this softwares, everything. So it is extremely perfect in structure. When I say structure, when we say any rule, it is not vague, it is perfectly clear. So this is one aspect which I was just sharing what I even experienced. So this Samskrita Bhasha, this is called Samskrita Bhasha in the Sanskrit language. After a few sessions, we will start using the word Samskritam, not Sanskrit, and we will be using the word Bhasha, not the word language. So the Nityananda Yoga Teachers training graduates are requested to make note of all these things, so that when you conduct the sessions during a Nityananda Yoga, when you enrich the whole humanity with Nityananda Yoga, when people ask why pramanas, why you chant pramanas, why you do this, and what is the significance, why are they chanted in Sanskrit and the languages, these languages, why are they not, what is the benefit of it, you will be able to tell and enrich the whole humanity. So this Bhasha, Swamiji calls, what is a Bhasha? Swamiji in various programs, Swamiji has experientially given this as an experience to participants when he says, in the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, we do not use the language just to transmit, just to convey meaning, but also to transmit energy. Swamiji will just create some sounds from his mouth, and people used to just like that levitate and fly in the air. So those of you who have got the blessing of being in such sessions, you may be experientially having an experience personally for your own self. So we got to know about what is Samskrita Bhasha, how it got created. And one more thing, because Samskrita Bhasha is revealed by Paramashiva, created by Paramashiva himself, and Paramashiva, when he did the cosmic dance as a Nataraja, and Paramashiva himself is eternal, the Bhasha is also eternal. Because it was revealed by Deva, Deva means God, literally means it is God. Because it is revealed by God, Paramashiva himself, we call it as Deva Bhasha, Sanskritam as Deva Bhasha, the divine language, or in colloquially as a translation we can say it is a divine language. Chanting or getting to know, what are the benefits of knowing or learning this language, Sanskrit or the Samskrita Bhasha? All the Vedas and the Agamas are revealed in it, because if you learn this Bhasha, you will be able to understand and appreciate the meaning and be able to directly learn from the source itself, source scriptures. One. Number two, when you chant, when you speak, or when you use these words from directly Samskrita Bhasha, what happens is the subtle grooves of your brain get activated and they get awakened. Many of us are aware that the ancient sages of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma were extreme geniuses in various fields, in the field of archery, in the field of medicine, Ayurveda, surgery, in the field of politics, in the field of knowledge, warfare, everything, even in wealth, creating wealth, in every aspect, in science of enlightenment, everything. It is all because their grooves, subtle grooves of their brains, or in other words, the non-mechanical parts of their brains were awakened, and because of which they were able to gain access to the various planes of the universe, various states of consciousness using their human brains, and were able to have that experience and give it as a science to the whole humanity. When we learn, when we chant the words, when we use those words directly revealed by Paramashiva and all the enlightened rishis, all the subtle grooves that were awakened in those rishis will also get awakened in us. The same DNA will start getting manifested in us. One important thing that Swamiji always says is, sound or music, from where it comes, it leads you to the same space. If you listen to a music which is created, the composer of the music, it can be the composer of the lyrics or the composer of the tune, the person who plays the instruments, everything. From where it comes, if the person is rooted in lust, when you listen to that song, you will get into the state or space of lust. When you listen to a song which came from deep love, you will get into the space and experience deep love. When you listen to the songs or music created by crazy, depressed people in the form of heavy metal music, you will also be led into the same space. That is why if you continuously listen to heavy metal music, putting it on your headphone for 1 hour continuously, after that your actions will not be coherent, it will be chaotic, it will start going chaotic. Like how the heavy metal music is chaotic, like that your actions will also get chaotic. Because of this truth that from where it comes, it leads you to the same space. This Bhasha came from Paramashiva, and when you listen to it, when you speak it, when you use this, you are led to the same state and space of Paramashiva. From whichever consciousness it came, it will lead you to the same consciousness. That is why in the Sanatana Hindu Dharma we always continue to maintain all the core scriptures, Vedas, everything intact in its own original bhasha, original form. We do not translate the shlokas or mantras to the local languages, English or anything, and start using that that translation of English during a puja or worship. We don't do it. This is because we know the bhasha came from Paramashiva and it will lead you to Paramashiva. By chanting the mantras from this bhasha, by you knowing this, by hearing this while you play the stotras, shlokas, Vedas, while at home, in your office, all these times, the ambience that is created will be vibrating with the energy of Paramashiva and thereby manifesting the state, space and powers of Paramashiva. So with this we'll have a 2-minute break during this session. Stay tuned during this Zoom session. We'll continue. Time is 10:41 Indian Standard Time. 10:44 we'll resume back this Zoom session. Stay tuned. So welcome back. So as we already conveyed that this series of 21 days is going to be the sessions, all the sessions that we cover in the Nityananda Yoga Teachers Training. So in Nityananda Yoga, whether it is the Shivastamba Yoga or Kundalini Raju Yoga or the Nityananda Yoga, which you do on the floor, In all this, we do all these yoga practices as per the Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Sanatana Hindu Dharma reveals that all this yoga is a ritual. Yoga is a ritual as per Sanatana Hindu Dharma. A ritual is an action. Ritual is an action which, when done, gives you a benefit. The in between, how it gives you the benefit, you may not even know. For example, if I have a remote control in my hand and I press the remote control, if it's an air conditioned remote control, I press the button here, switch on or swing button of the air condition AC air conditioning unit, and I press it, then the swing starts moving in the air conditioner. The button here just touches, creates a circuit, activates a circuit, electronic circuit which is there in the remote control, which generates some electronic signals which gets transmitted into electromagnetic signals and just spread out, and that air conditioner has a receiver which receives the electromagnetic signals and converts it back into electronic signals, which converts it into electrical signals for the movement, for which gets converted into as mechanical movement of the swing. Like how you just press a button here and the swing of the air conditioner starts moving. Like this, when we say a ritual, it is a perfect mechanism. It is not, when we say a ritual, people usually understand it is like a superstitious something. No, it is not. It is a perfect science which should be done only as it is prescribed. If it is a TV remote control, then if I close that front portion of it, then the TV does not get switched on. If I turn towards this side, if I am showing towards a mirror, then it gets reflected and goes back to the TV. We all know this. When it is a perfectly scientific methodology, all this rituals are, whether it is yoga or a homa or a puja, everything is a perfect scientific methodology technique. When I say scientific, it has a sequence. What happens what? Some things which can be understood by us, some things which cannot be understood by us. For example, if you do a puja, what happens? So there are many things that happens within your body, within your breathing, within your mind, within your chakras. There are some things which is getting created in the form of punya, which does not have a form but remains there in your being, and at later period of time it gives you the benefit, it gives you the positive benefit in your life. So this structure happens, this whole circuit happens. So this is a ritual. Like that, yoga when done creates certain effect in your muscles, bones, which is your physical body, your nervous system, as well as opens up the subtle grooves of your brain, which makes you access, which gives you the access to higher powers and higher dimensions and planes of the universe, and as a result of which you manifest powers, as a result of which you have divine visions, and you go beyond the body and you experience your real state of Paramashivatva, which is the eternal bliss, experiencing the eternal bliss, and you get the experience of going beyond birth and death itself. Because the yoga sequentially, one generates the other and the other one, it has a chain of all these things, and to achieve this chain there are certain conditions. You need to do this, you need to do this. If you miss this, then this effect does not happen properly. Because of this, which is a scientific flow, we call it as a ritual. Please understand, ritual means this. It is not just a superstition. In the ritual of yoga, we always offer our respects and pranams. Pranams means namaskara, bowing down. pranams to the one who is opening up to this superconscious sacred truths. Through which form do we get to know all these sacred truths? Through the form of Swamiji, who is our Guru. So in the ritual of yoga, we always start the session with the invocation of the Sadguru Vandanam. There can be Guru means, the word Guru literally means Guru. Gu represents darkness or ignorance. Ru represents the remover of the darkness. This is the pramana. The pramana for this explanation is directly from Guru Gita, where Paramashiva explains the meaning of the word Guru to Devi Parashakti. Anybody who gives you knowledge and removes your ignorance is Guru, but the one who awakens you to your real state and makes you enlightened, the Guru who gives you enlightenment means who initiates you into the state of enlightenment and takes responsibility for your enlightenment until you are enlightened, and continuously is with you and supports you in every way, in spiritually, in every way, and makes you enlightened. He is called in the Sanskrit called Sadguru. So that is why we call this as Sadguru Vandanam. The chanting for the Sadguru Vandanam, which we started in the beginning of the class, beginning of this session, Nityanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattamasyadi Lakshim Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tum Namami. This is directly from the Shastras, directly from the scriptures, this verse. Hence we start the invocation by chanting the verse from the Shastras. When we say verse, going forward I will start using the word shloka instead of using the word verse, because we don't, in every religion has its own ecosystem. Sanatana Hindu Dharma has its own ecosystem. The ecosystem, if it is an ecosystem of the geographical ecosystem, then even a small insect is a part and parcel of that ecosystem. Even a bacteria is a part and parcel of ecosystem. And hence, in the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, using the exact terminologies which were revealed by, which was used by Paramashiva himself, is important for us to use also. Paramashiva always uses the words shloka or the mantra, shloka, mantra, stotra, all these. So this is called Sadguru Vandanam, and it is in the is in the form of a shloka. Shloka is a 2-lined or a 4-lined verse. So first let us strengthen. Many of us who are logged into the Zoom session already know the Sadguru Vandanam. Even if you know the Sadguru Vandanam, let us fine tune your Sadguru Vandanam for a few minutes now before we end today's session. Please repeat. I'll give you time. I'll chant it and give a time for you to chant it twice. Any chanting that is taught, please repeat it twice. Why we chant it twice is because Dridhikaranarte Dviruktihi is the Shastra say. For the strengthening of the learning, 2 times repetition is needed. 2 or 3 or 4 times, minimum of 2 times. So I'll chant and give a pass, and in that pass, when I give a pass, please repeat it twice. I'll chant it slowly, legibly. Please do not close your eyes because we are learning. Please do not close your eyes. Please do not keep your hands in the Namaskara Mudra prayer position now. Please look at the video, the movement of my lips also. Om Nityanandam Paramasukhadam केवलम ज्ञानमूर्तिम. I repeat, jnana. This word jnana is a combination of, if I have to write it down in English, then I have to write it down as J N above that one symbol like this, A N A. So it is a combination of jnana. So we say, we don't say jnana, so it is jnana. And also say murtim. I know many people they feel it difficult to pronounce ra. We will have a separate day, separate session one day, where we will train you to chant, train you to use your tongue to say ra. For many Chinese and many West Americans and English people, the use of ra is a little difficult, unlike Spanish or Spanish people or Indians. So we will train you separately one day. So now repeat, Jnanamurtim. Dvandvatitam. Gagana sadrisham. Tattvamasyadi. Lakshyam. Ekam nityam. Vimalam achalam. Sarvadhi. Sarvadhi. Sakshi. Bhutam. Bhavatitam. Triguna rahitam. Sadguruntam. Namami. Again, once more repeat, Nityanandam. Paramasukhadam. Kevalam. Jnanamurtim. Dvandvatitam. Gagana sadrisham. Tattvamasyadi. Lakshyam. Ekam nityam. Vimalamachalam. Sarvadhi. Sakshi bhutam. Bhavatitam. Triguna rahitam. Sadguruntam. Namami. So before we conclude today's session, just wanted to tell you, those of you who have logged in and who are watching this, who are attending this session, who are going to attend, who want to attend all these sessions, and please make note that Swamiji himself has made a comment on the Facebook saying that he himself recommends everyone to attend these sessions, and so all of you continue to attend these sessions. Those of you who have joined today, please do not miss the session tomorrow. The reason is missing the second day of anything that you start is a defect as per the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, which is called the Dvitiya Vichiti Dosha. Swamiji calls it as Dvandva Dosha, where you are not able to continue it for the second, third or fourth day that which you start. So please let's not get into that. So please attend tomorrow's session, and the assignment for today's session for all of you who have attended this, whatever you understood, whatever you learned today, two things: make one post in the Facebook. Maybe if you are from Spain, if you are Spanish, you can post it in Spanish itself. Make a post in the Facebook what you learnt today, and with the hashtag Nityananda Sanskrit, NITHYANANDASANSKRIT, Sanskrit. There is no gap between Sanskrit, Nityananda and Sanskrit. Leave a hashtag with hashtag Nityananda Sanskrit. So with that, make a post before the session tomorrow, and also make a short video about what you learned today, and inviting more people to come and receive the knowledge of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma solely by the grace of Bhagavan Sri Nityananda Paramashivam Swamiji himself. So with this, before you all exit the Zoom room, stay tuned for a couple of minutes. Srinitya Dridhananda will share with you a few words and guide you through some steps for a few minutes, and then with that he will conclude the whole session with the Purna Mantra. So until the end of the Purna Mantra, stay tuned. Thank you. Nityanandam.
Yes, Nityanandam, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed that session. Thank you very much to Sri Nitya Ambananda Swami. He's an incredible, of course, yes, and Swamiji. For those of you who joined the session today, Swamiji had announced that on his Facebook, shared Amba Swami's post. He wants everybody to join in on this session, and so we're extremely excited about that, to be able to host these sessions. Tomorrow we will be going live on NTV. We'll see if we can continue with the Zoom room as well, just to keep the engagement, which is definitely something that we want, and so we're excited about the next sessions moving forward. Again, we'd like to complete about the technical glitch at the beginning. Moving forward, the session will be from 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time until 10:30, and we'll make sure that we're integrated to that. Last thing before everybody leaves, if you could please sign this one petition. I posted the link in the chat box, the Kailasha petition-support. So there's a link there. If you at all felt inspired or felt that you benefited from this program, all that we're really asking is for you to sign this one petition. This is why Kailasa, the first Hindu nation, is happening. If you don't know about the movement of the first and only Hindu nation, Kailasa, Swamiji is reviving that Hindu nation, and a part of this mission is the gift to humanity of free education, and this is just one, or the very first of those classes or courses, university course credits that are going to be available to the humanity. And so we're extremely excited. I know we have a lot of Nityananda Yoga teachers, Acharya graduates that are here in this program. This is by far one of the best components of the NYTT program, and so to be able to gift this to the rest of the Sangha and the rest of the humanity for free is such a blessing from Swamiji. And so if you could please sign this one petition. Again, the link is there. Just click on the link. I think there's just a handful of questions. It will take just a couple minutes. That would be greatly appreciated. For those of you that, again, made it to this session, just a reminder, we will record this session for everybody, and moving forward, we will record all of these sessions, but we really do encourage that you show up to the live event, especially if we're going to have those Zoom sessions where you can have the exact feedback. Amba Swami will be able to hear how you're chanting, and just to see if you're saying something wrong or if there's a tweak that he can give you, and of course having that Q&A possibility as well. And also, we're not sure how fast we'll get the video content up, so if you miss a session, we don't know when you could make that up. With that, we will leave it there. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always message either myself or post a message to the Nityananda Yoga Facebook page, and we will get back to you as quickly as we can. And looking forward to sharing and seeing you guys at future sessions. Thank you very much for your patience again at the beginning, and we're looking forward to the next sessions by Amba Swami. So with that, we will close with the Puna Mantra, and we will let you off for this evening or in the morning, depending on what side of the globe you are on. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hadi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Satguru Paruka Paramastu. Om Nityanandam. Thank you again, everybody. Nityanandam. We'll see you at the next sessions.